This presentation is on the planned intent, implementation and impact of a unit of work on Purple Maths writing for different audiences in primary computing. The 2013 National Curriculum outlines that a high-quality computing education equips pupils to use computational thinking and creativity to understand and change the world. Computing has deep links with mathematics, science and design technology. Computing also ensures that pupils become digitally literate, able to use and express themselves and develop their ideas through information and communication technology at a level suitable for the future workplace and as active participants in a digital world. This is particularly true looking at the effects of a global pandemic and the growing need to become computer literate. A brief history of computing. In 2013, Michael Gove, the Secretary of State for Education, launched a public consultation on the government's proposal to replace the foundation subject ICT with computing at all 4 key stages. In the consultation document, 39% of respondents supported the name change proposal, as they believed ICT as a subject name carries strong negative connotations of a dated and unchallenging curriculum that does not serve the needs of ambitious pupils. They also found that changing the name of ICT to computing would not only improve the status of the subject, but also more accurately reflect the breadth of the content included in the new draft programmes of study. Having said that, some respondents felt that the proposed curriculum may be daunting for primary teachers who are not specialists in computing and would not feel equipped to teach it. In some cases, this was accompanied by a concern around the considerable need for training and continuing professional development for teachers, and issues in relation to cost of this support and the cost of any additional resources or hardware needed. This strongly links to a subject knowledge deficit that I will speak about more later in this presentation. This draft curriculum also assumed too much underlying knowledge in pupils. Some respondents feared that pupils would not have access to the hardware or the ability to learn basic digital skills at home, and this would be particularly true for children from lower income families and deprived areas. The Sutton Trust in 2021 carried out research that highlighted how families from lower socioeconomic backgrounds were more negatively impacted by remote learning during the pandemic for this exact reason. Being digitally literate requires practice of computational skills and accesses to devices, something not all children have outside of school. The national curriculum splits computing into 3 main strands: computer science, which is the largest component of computing, information technology, which is the purposeful use of existing programs, and digital literacy, which is the skills and knowledge needed to fully participate in a digital world. These can be seen as the foundations, applications, and implications of living in a digital world. This links as well to the Safeguarding Update in 2021, as digital literacy incorporates online safety, which helps develop digital resilience in young people through the knowledge and skills of logical thinking and evaluating information sources. So, how should we teach computing? Sue Sentence and Simon Humphreys identified and explored the subject knowledge deficit among teachers of computing and found a series of online communities that provide really high quality resources and guidance to match the primary and secondary curriculum, such as CS Unplugged, Barefoot and Teach Computing. Although Mason and Rich 2019 found teachers' subject knowledge to be an area of weakness within teaching of computing, alongside low scores of computing self-efficacy and attitudes towards teaching and computing. Bell and Varenholz support Sentence and Humphreys' research by suggesting that using CS Unplugged is an effective and easily accessible pedagogical approach when it comes to teaching computing. Their research demonstrates how, through the incorporation of these approaches into teacher training and CPD courses, this would help counteract low teaching standards and attitudes. They encourage teachers to maximise the use of these online communities to support the teaching of computing. The concept of computational thinking was repopularised in 2006 by Jeanette Wing. She stated the importance of teaching these skills, either explicitly or implicitly, to further develop a child's repertoire of skills, but more specifically to expand upon the analytical ability that can then be applied to other subjects such as reading, writing, mathematics and humanities, and also to create transferable skills to industry in later life. So what do we really need to remember when teaching computing? Well, Mitchell Resnick illustrates the value of kindergarten approach to learning. It is characterized by a spiraling cycle of imagine, create, play, share, reflect, and back to imagine, which has many links to Piaget's constructivist theory of learning and how children are not passive recipients of information, but active participants in building their own structures and schemas. Therefore, teaching computing by incorporating a safe space for exploration and creativity can help learners develop their creative thinking skills that are crucial to success and satisfaction in today's society within the computing industry as well. Seymour Pappert's learning theory of constructionism develops this further by suggesting that student-centered discovery learning is best, where students can use what they already know to acquire more knowledge, merging concepts of both constructivism and social constructivism, and adapting it to make it much more relevant to computing and how children learn using technology specifically. Zhong and Zhu identify that exploratory learning puts a high cognitive demand on the learner, even though it is important to have creative freedom for pupils and space to tinker. Instructional support is needed if learning from simulations is to be effective. This links to the subject knowledge deficit within computing and the low self-efficacy of teachers teaching computing, thus emphasising the importance of strong subject knowledge and knowing the relevant pedagogical approaches such as effective partner talk and simulations when used appropriately. Teachers can then facilitate learning and discussion where necessary and still simultaneously allow the space for pupils to explore learning while the teacher isn't dominating the lesson, making sure it is child-led and active learning is being used as much as possible. Wegeroth and Scrimshaw also emphasise the importance of using partner talk within computing, as this is also related to a peer assessment opportunity, as well as a chance to use further computational thinking such as collaborating and persevering. Guzdahl also highlights the importance of pupils gaining that initial knowledge before exploration and tinkering, as if they don't have this can often lead to purposeless and aimless, ineffective learning. Ultimately, computing should be about creating something with purpose and relevance to pupils' lives. The intention of my sequence of lessons was for pupils to effectively plan, create, and evaluate writing written for different audiences for a particular purpose. I chose this module based off guidance from the Purple Mash website and adapted it to encapsulate a broader range of areas from the curriculum by adding the element of research and primary and secondary data into the lessons to create stronger cross-curricular links. More importantly, I wanted to illustrate real-life implications of computing for children. David Brown highlights how rooting computing in real-world context is a key component to raising achievement in this subject. The three critical decisions that I made around the implementation of this unit of work was that pupils would work collaboratively. Hanks et al. Also demonstrates the positive effects of paired programming, so this is not too dissimilar, as similar principles definitely apply here. The beginning of the unit of work was rooted in real-life context. This was really important for me to really change the view of people's ideas of computing and those negative connotations, and also to use Purple Mash as the key platform for children to carry out tasks. This is a really good website for inclusion and also to support the teacher's subject knowledge deficit, as it aids with a lot of that. Wainthropp suggests that this approach could lack authenticity compared to industry expectations, although through the completion of this unit of work, children would have practiced a variety of computational thinking skills, such as creating and collaborating, which are skills transferable to industry in later life and to other cross-curricular subjects. It can be tricky to assess the impact of computing, as traditional AFL strategies are not always applicable, such as live marking and the use of summative assessment data, although Miles Berry presents various other AFL strategies that incorporate the use of various assessment techniques. In my particular unit of work, I focus mainly on targeted and opening questioning, peer discussion, self-assessment and peer review and assessment. And the unit of work would be evaluated through the following questions as displayed on screen. The takeaways from my own practice would be to ensure that I am delivering a broad balanced view of all three strands of computing and to really give the subject real life context, not just with cross-curricular links, but also with everyday life. This is not only to aid long-term memory for students, but also to recognise that we as a society are more interconnected than ever before. and teaching future generations how to enhance their creative use of technology and be safe and responsible whilst doing this online can really re-establish the respect that computing as a discipline deserves. Wing said that computational thinking will be a fundamental skill used by everyone by the middle of the 21st century, just like reading, writing, and arithmetic.